And now we are looking at it making its way past Puerto Rico toward the island of Hispaniola. And yes, notice before I move on to the next graphic, there is another area out in the Atlantic that we're keeping our eye on. Right now, it is not deemed an invest or anything like that, but I will talk about that in just a few minutes. For now, we're going to focus on Tropical Storm Fred. We've been calling it Fred to be for quite some time now. It is finally, again, got those maximum sustained winds at 40 miles per hour. Those maximum sustained winds, those tropical storm force winds extend out about 45 miles from the center of the storm. And this morning, just kind of taking a quick look at satellite, it doesn't look all that impressive. Last night, it was kind of holding its own. It does look like it's weakened just a little bit when I, again, just look at satellite. There's got a couple of peaks of showers and storms developing right on the edge of Hispaniola there, and then near the southern section of these cloud tops. And I wanted to bring in Hank really quick to kind of get your idea. I know you've been on the air all morning long, kind of taking a look at this and dissecting it. What are your thoughts on the latest satellite look and kind of how it's breaking apart just a little bit?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not that impressive at all. You know, what's interesting is you do have some of those sort of wispy clouds around the outskirts of that convection there. And sometimes that wispiness indicates a system trying to strengthen a bit. But as you mentioned, you've got a couple of different areas of higher cloud tops there, indicating a couple of different sort of centers of stronger thunderstorm activity. You got a little gap forming in the middle there now. Not very impressive on the western side at all. And to me, you know, as we've talked about many times before with these weak systems, you know, you can get the center to sort of jump around a bit. So that's something I think we'll have to watch for over the next couple of days to see, does maybe that southern part of the convection take over maybe from where the center is right now, but definitely not looking that great at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And Hank talked about, this little gap starting to form here. This is what is exactly he's talking about. There's a cluster of storms starting to form near the island of Hispaniola, and then a cluster starting to form down here. And that's a big difference. That's going to make a big difference in the long run, because if the center forms a little bit farther to the south, maybe near where these thunderstorms are starting to pop up, that's going to mean a large shift in that track eventually. So weak storms, they just have a difficult time, especially near mountainous islands, and when dry air is trying to intrude, they have a difficult time trying to organize, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now. And the island of Hispaniola here, very mountainous, so as it makes its way off to the west-northwest here at 16 miles per hour, it is going to travel over this island, and that is going to further interrupt that center of circulation, so keeping it weaker in the near term. But if it stays off to the north of the Caribbean islands here, it is going to start to interact with some warmer water, and it will have the chance to slowly regain that strength. There's a look at the forecast models there. You saw they weren't in exactly some great agreement, especially as we get into Sunday and into Monday. There's a pretty large spread in the models, and the track here is going to note that. But I do want to walk you through the timing here. So this is right now, this is right where we're seeing the center, at least what we're depicting as the center at this moment. It's going to pass over the island of Hispaniola 2 a.m. tomorrow. You can see the L's here. That means the National Hurricane Center thinks it is going to weaken as it moves over the island of Hispaniola. Maybe stay just to the north or kind of ride right along Cuba here by the time we get to Friday. As we get into Saturday, Sunday, and into Monday, that's when we would be talking about the United States impacts. Obviously, first starting here in the Florida Keys, maybe early Saturday morning, and then the storm would continue off to the northwest, maybe staying out in the Gulf of Mexico, still could be over the peninsula of Florida, and it could still be far enough out in the Gulf of Mexico that this could be a storm that Hank still needs to watch as well, and we would see very little impacts here in the Tampa Bay area. Regardless, at this point, I do think the Panhandle should certainly be watching this storm closely as well, because the latest models continue to suggest that we will see some sort of U.S. impact as we head into late in the weekend and into early next week. But that's the latest track. This is the 5 a.m. track from the National Hurricane Center, and it really hasn't changed all that much. We're still looking at the center of the cone staying just off of Florida's coast. But remember, the cone is this wide because the center of Fred could be anywhere within that cone. All right, let's talk about the challenges kind of that Fred has moving forward. The dry air has been one that we've been talking about from the beginning. It's been surrounded by this dry air. It's still surrounded by the dry air. So that's good news because that's helping to keep the storm a little bit weaker. It's helping to prevent that fast organization. So that's some good news, but you can still see there's plenty of tropical moisture in and around the center. So that's kind of what's helping keep it going. Now, if we look off to the north, staying with tropical moisture here, looking at the water vapor, we're looking over Florida at this point because there's actually a little bit of spin in the atmosphere over the state of Florida. This is an upper level area of low pressure that will eventually affect Fred as it moves a little bit closer. This upper level area of low pressure going to be weakening as it makes its way closer to us, but it could impede again that fast strengthening. So again, good news. The one thing that Fred does have going for it, it's August, and yeah, we have some very warm water temperatures well into the mid 80s, upper 80s right near the coastline. So that's going to help help the storm strengthen as it makes its way just north of these islands. If it stays right over these islands, it's going to really have a hard time holding together. So this is what one model of the GFS run looks like. This is the latest model from the GFS. Again, every model that we get, again, it places the center just a little bit in different spots. So that's why we kind of really have to pay attention to that cone and know that the center could be anywhere within that cone. And this particular model with the GFS, you can see we're not seeing very closed, tight circulations here. So that means that it keeps Fred on the weaker side, again, because of all of those factors that we just talked about, the dry air, maybe the land interaction, and the interaction with that area of upper level low pressure. But you can see the heaviest rain here, the yellows and the oranges, still on the right side of the storm, the east side of the storm. So even if the center stays just off of our coastline here in the Tampa Bay area, we're likely going to get some of that squally weather come through, especially late Saturday and into Sunday. And then as we get into Sunday and into Monday, you notice how the circles kind of tighten up there just a little bit. That's indicating some strengthening, probably because it is over the very warm waters here. This is this is Sunday midday, and then after that, again, it makes its way off to the north. But again, this is probably going to be some impacts to the Tampa Bay area with those squally bands coming through, especially focused on Sunday with improving weather conditions on Monday. But again, a lot can change. If it takes a path that this particular model just said, we will see that squally weather. If it takes a path much farther out in the Gulf of Mexico, we may not get a whole lot at all. And same thing if it takes a much farther track to the right, to the east. We may not get that much impacts because, again, it looks like most of the showers and storms are going to be on that eastern side. So certainly something we're continuing to watch. I do recommend that everyone kind of pays attention every day as we head through the rest of the work week here. I think the bottom line, good news, it doesn't look like Fred is going to be very strong at this point, but as we always say, the intensity forecasts, they're notorious for being difficult to forecast. So we say plan for at least one category above what it is actually forecasting right now. National Hurricane Center does not have Fred becoming a Category 1 storm. Is that out of the realm of possibilities? No. So yes, we need to kind of pay attention to this as we head into the weekend. And quickly, before I get back to JB and Hank here, this is the other area that we are watching the National Hurricane Center giving it a 20% chance in the next 2 days and a 40% chance in the next 5 days. And you can see it's going to take the same general path that Fred has taken, and that's because of the steering currents. We've got the high pressure located near Bermuda, and on the southern edge of that high pressure, we've got those easterly winds that are coming from the east, pushing everything off to the west. So that's what we expect, exactly what we expect for the middle and late portions of August in the tropics. So